I have a good tenant that's paying his rent. I rented the house for $1,100, and I'd like to raise the rent up higher to like maybe 13 or 14 a month. And I don't have a lease with this tenant. I procrastinated. I never did get one written up. I kept saying I was going to get one, but he knows it was going to be a 30-day lease. And what do I do in a situation like this? Because I might want to just take the property over and release the property at like 14 to 16 or 1700 a month, actually.
So, Mike, for this, I'm going to turn you over to Attorney Caleb Maggio, but let's just start by making it clear that Mike has an oral lease, which is perfectly acceptable here in the state of Florida. Therefore, he's on a month-to-month basis with his tenant. What can Mike do as far as increasing rent to his tenant?
Well, Tom, first thing you want to determine is, like you said, whether you have that month-to-month or fixed term. You can still have an oral lease that has a fixed term. And so if you have a month-to-month, then you want to determine how often is rent paid, typically every 30 days. If that's the case and you want to raise rent, what you have to do is give 30 days notice of the raise in rent. If you don't give that 30 days notice, you're not going to be able to raise the rent. For instance, you can't raise the rent in the middle of a month. If they pay on the first of the month, you can't raise the rent on the 15th and say, hey, next month on the 1st you got to pay more. You got to give them 30 days the full month. Now, if you don't want to raise that rent and you want them out, then you have to do a notice of termination. And again, under the Florida statutes, if you have a month-to-month that's 30 days, you need to give 30 days notice for that termination.
Okay, and how do I get a termination, with the 30 days notice to terminate the oral lease I have? Do I go to an office supply place, or I call you guys or a professional attorney, or what?
You call us or another attorney, and we can prepare that notice of termination for you. We can have it delivered as well, and that way you'll have all your bases covered.
Hey, Caleb, let me ask on Mike's behalf. Could Mike do a notice to the tenant that says, look, you got two choices. Either I'm terminating this lease or we're going to $1,600 a month. Take your choice.
Absolutely. He can do that.
So, Mike, I think that might be a good solution for you because it literally gives your tenant the choice.
Yeah, actually, that was one of my questions. I was just going to say if I can give them a choice to raise rent, to be fair, because they've been paying, they never missed a payment, and he's a really good person. So I just wanted to know where I stand since I didn't have anything on paper. Everything's just verbal. If I was to take the house over where I stood legally, as long as I give them a 30-day notice of a termination, then things. And what happens if he refuses to move?
Then you're looking at an eviction action.
So, Mike, you said he's been a good tenant. Let's just, I might suggest a positive outcome to this, and you might say, look, I'm going to raise your rent to $1,600 a month, or you can move out, take your choice. Your tenant might come back to you and say, Mike, you know what? I really want to stay here. How about $1,400 a month? So you guys might negotiate something that meets with both of your approvals.
Okay. And I'm just thinking of the worst. Just say he, some people get really upset when you start telling them, you're going to have to move or pay more. Say he says he doesn't want to pay more, then he stops paying rent. Then actually I have to go through an eviction. But how long will eviction take? Are we talking 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? Or I'm wondering how much money I'm going to lose monthly.
It's different for every situation, but typically the median is 2 to 3 months. And the good thing about the scenario here, if that happens, is that if you deliver that notice of termination 30 days before the next month, he doesn't get out, you can immediately start charging him double rent. It's called holdover rent. It's provided for by Florida statutes. And at the end of that eviction, you can get a judgment against the tenant for double rent for every month he was in there during the eviction period.
Okay, and how do I get that written up professionally and legally where he can understand this and
Hey, Mike, you can go to our website, olsenlawgroup.com.